Welcome through this demo video of the Windows Virtual Desktop Quickstart solution. The Windows Virtual Desktop Quickstart is intended to simplify and automate the Windows Virtual Desktop or WVD deployments. Here on WVDQuickstart.com you'll find all the information you need. On the how-to page, we'll actually find a list of prerequisites before we can deploy using the Quickstart. But in this video, we're going to include the setup of all those prerequisites. So we're going to start with a completely empty Azure subscription, and we're going to go from 0 to a full Windows Virtual Desktop environment. For more information on Windows Virtual Desktop, feel free to check out the documentation on the Microsoft website. So in this video, we're going to set up a Windows Server Active Directory together with Azure Active Directory Connect. Well, the first step to do that is to navigate to the Azure portal, and then in the top search bar just search for template, and on the right we'll see that option template deployment. Just go ahead and click that, and then in the search bar here we're going to type active, and we'll see the option Active Directory. Just click that one, select the template. That'll take us to some user inputs. We're going to go ahead and create a new resource group. We'll call it AD for now. You can call it whatever you want. And here we need to fill out some user input on what we want our admin account to be called, and we need to specify a password. And these inputs we're going to need later on in the deployment as well. Here specify your domain and a DNS prefix. Apart from that, I'm just going to keep all the defaults the same. And now we're going to go ahead and click purchase. And this will set up a domain controller for us. This involves deploying a virtual network and a domain controller VM and a couple of other resources. This can take roughly 15, maybe 20 minutes. But for the purposes of this video, I'll speed it up. We're now reaching the end of the deployment. Let's just go ahead and go to that newly created resource group AD to see what was deployed. In there we'll see, for example, the AD VM, which is a virtual machine that holds a domain controller, and we're just going to go ahead and click on that. And to complete the setup with Azure AD Connect, we want to actually connect to this VM, and we're going to do that through RDP. So all we need to do is select the public load balancer IP address here. We can download the RDP file. Once that's done downloading, you just click on it, and that will give you a prompt. Looks like this. Go ahead and click connect, and then it's going to ask you for the credentials, and that'll be the credentials we created in user input fields. So for my case, that was SSA at your domain, and then the password you created on the side as well. That will give you the following prompt. Now, the first time this might take a while to load once you actually connect to it. And so while that is loading, we're actually going to do another task. We're going to search for Azure AD Connect, which is going to go to the first search result over there, and we're going to download the installer to set up Azure Active Directory Connect. It's easier to do this on your own PC than on the actual domain controller VM, just because of some security protocols that are in place on the domain controller that'll make it a little harder for you. So we took the easy route, and then now that we see that our domain controller is fully booted up, we can just go to the File Explorer, and what we're going to do is we're just going to copy over that installer MSI package over to the domain controller. Once that is done, we can actually go ahead and click it, and that'll take us to the installer for Azure Active Directory Connect. Once that is completed, we can agree to the terms, and we're just going to use the Express settings in this particular setup. Here you can enter your Azure Active Directory credentials, so just what you would regularly log into with the Azure portal. Then in the next step, when this is loaded, we're actually going to log in again with the credentials we created for our domain controller. So we can just use our domain / our domain username, our password, and then before clicking next, we got to check the box. And once that is done, we can go ahead and install. But before doing that, make sure that the Start Synchronization checkbox has been checked. As the installer finishes, we can just go ahead and hit exit. As that is done, I'm just going to go ahead and move these screens out of the way. Then I'm going to navigate to the Azure portal once again, to our AD VM, which we're just going to go ahead and give a restart for all these changes we just applied to Percolate. And that doesn't take too long, but in the meantime, we can go ahead, go to Active Directory, and then under Users, we'll actually get a little confirmation that our AD Connect setup was complete. We'll see this directory user pop up. Now that we've confirmed that, and we can check that our AD VM is up and running again, we can finish its restart, we can go ahead and actually start with the Windows Virtual Desktop Quickstart. We're just going to go to WVDQuickstart.com again on the how-to page, where we'll see the instructions. But first, these prerequisites. So we've just set up our Windows Server Active Directory, but we've also deployed a virtual network, which by default comes with this available subnet and the correct settings if we use the template. And then we'll find here the Deploy to Azure button, which once again will take us to the Azure portal, where we're going to be asked for some limited user input that we'll need for our Windows Virtual Desktop environment. Just going to go ahead and create a new resource group, WVD. And here we're going to have to fill out the details from our virtual network, which we can find in our AD resource group. And I see it's called AD VNet. We're going to just fill that out over here. And in the same page, we'll see that the subnet is called AD subnet, which is where we'll join the domain join the Windows Virtual Desktop virtual machines to. Now, then one last thing is the name of our domain controller VM, which is the AD VM. And here we have to fill out our Azure credentials that you use to log into the Azure portal. And here we need to fill out the credentials that we use on the domain controller. We filled it out a couple times already now. This will be the last time. And then once we click purchase, we see that our deployment kicks off. One of the steps is user creation. This is actually a custom script extension on the AD VM, where it's going to create our Windows Virtual Desktop test user for us. As the deployment finishes up, it's now on this last task, the create DevOps pipeline. And here it's done. So we can go to the resource group and see what actually has been deployed, which includes an automation account, some runbooks, and very importantly, an Azure DevOps organization. And that organization is in which we'll actually find the automation that's going to deploy our Windows Virtual Desktop environment for us. So we're going to go ahead and navigate to dev.azure.com. Going to log in with our Azure credentials, and here we'll find a newly created Quickstart project. Navigate to the project page and then to the pipeline subpage, where we'll find an automation pipeline that's already running. And here we'll see all the tasks laid out. So it's going to deploy a couple of resources, including everything needed for Windows Virtual Desktop. And if you click on them, we'll see a very detailed deployment output, so you can follow along exactly what's happening. Then, as you would expect, you can also follow along with this deployment in the Azure portal. So right now it's deploying the virtual machines. And if we go to the deployments in our WVD resource group, we'll actually see that that is happening there too. As we speed up the pipeline here, it will take a little under 25 minutes to deploy all the required resources, which includes a full Windows Virtual Desktop environment. It is now completed successfully. And if we go back to our WVDQuickstart.com, we can see that to use our new environment, we can log in with our test user credentials. And in this case, we're just going to go to the web client, where we're going to log in with these test user credentials. As we're logged in, we'll see our Windows Virtual Desktop workspace, which includes a session desktop that we'll connect to now. This will provide us a full Windows Desktop experience. For example, once this is all loaded up, we can see that we have access to certain applications, such as, for example, in this case, Word. And we installed the entire Office suite on this virtual machine in the automation. And this environment that we deployed actually comes with FSLogic's profile management configured. So first we're going to look at our user profile in Azure Active Directory, which got synced as we wanted. We see a user group WVD test users and our one member for now, WVD test user 001. Now, as we just logged in with this user, we should see a user profile in the storage account created specifically for FSLogix. So if we navigate to the file shares in the storage account, we'll see a WVD profiles, and in there we find the user profile for our test user, as you would expect with an FSLogix configuration. And that's all. We'll end this walkthrough today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, do let me know. For more information on the Windows Virtual Desktop Quickstart, check out wvdquickstart.com. Thank you for watching.